Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm having a great day.
Awesome, awesome.
It's a beautiful sunny day here in Colorado.
In Colorado, what part of Colorado are you in?
Boulder, Colorado.
Awesome. It is. I've heard it is so beautiful out there, Mark. Mark, please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
Mark Stangl, MSE Systems and Inspections
Awesome, awesome.
here in Boulder.
We so look forward to learning more about those systems that you're creating, your engineering background. But before we get into that, we want to learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and went to college down in Austin, and I worked, was a worker in the lawn mowing and became, construction business as a teenager. And I went to college and studied engineering, but it took a couple years to realize that I wanted to be really serious. So I took off a few years. I ran a leather shop, and then I also worked in Hollywood building movie sets one summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me enough resources to come back to school with with enough money to start a semester. And it took me another 3 years to graduate. And I had an 8-year college experience, but I had a lot of working. And when I was in college, I put myself through school, financed my living costs by being a handyman, taking care of a bunch of buildings, and I found out I really enjoyed doing that. When I got out of college, I went right into high technology, though.
Mm-hmm. Now, it seems as if, based off what you shared so far, you've always had a mechanical edge. If you're working with lawnmowers and landscaping, you got to be able to fix those things. And then when you had the opportunity to go to college, you went for engineering. What really sparked that for you when you were younger to fall in that type of industry?
Well, I think when I was about 9 or 10 years old, my dad had one of these mechanical alarm clocks. You don't see those anymore. And I took it all apart, very curious about how it worked. And I put it back together, and I had some parts left over, and it still worked, and my dad never complained. That's when I realized when I was young that I really enjoyed mechanical things. And I had some great mentors. I had another friend of my dad's that lived down the street that was an engineer, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And I had some other people that I worked with in the construction business when I was a teenager doing concrete. And then we also ran a water system for all of our neighbors.
Okay.
So I worked for the well driller, and I got a lot of exposure there.
So you had a lot of hands-on type experiences working with your hands. You were able
Right.
to finance yourself through college. What happened once you finished up there in Austin?
Well, I was just I got one more $500 grant from the financial aid department. I don't think they knew I was graduating, and I had gotten a job up here in Colorado. I had tried to get a job in Colorado because I had passed through here in my travels as a young guy,
Mm-hmm.
and always wanted to be in the mountains, having grown up in the flatness of Texas, um, and heat. And I knew it was cold and wintry up here, and so I was excited. I was really excited to come to Colorado for the lifestyle here.
Mm-hmm. Now, you got up to Colorado. How did you take care of yourself? What happened? What type of way were you able to get
Well, I had a
resources?
job. I went into work for a company called Storage Tech, which was a magnetic recording company, and very, very hot, very highly technical company. And I got a great job in that company,
Mm-hmm.
developing technology and understanding technology and measuring things. And that learning how to measure stuff became and doing the mechanical design and stuff around making measurement equipment. That really kind of set my course for many years.
Okay. So how long were you with that particular business?
About 6 years.
Okay. Okay.
And then they had a downswing, so then I moved into a fiber optics company,
Mm-hmm.
and I got very interested in optics because I had been working in optics in my last few years at the first company. They had moved into optical recording, so I got very interested in optics, and I worked that company for about a year, and they had a downturn. So then I got to work for a big company, Ball Aerospace,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked there, and we worked on machine vision and developed technology how to use computers and And this was in the infancy of this technology, computers and cameras to recognize and select good and bad products as they're coming off the press.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems as if you are a early innovator. Seems like everything you've shared so far, it's on the cutting edge of technology. What made you stay there? Because so many people are late adopters, but it seems like you were going after these things early.
Well, I found that you could always get a job doing something nobody wanted to do, and if it was difficult to do, then you were more likely to get the position.
That does make a lot of sense. And if you're on the front part of things, no one's there yet because they're afraid of it still.
Right, and I continued that course in optics. I worked in optics, and uh, then I got very much into using computers for uh, gathering data, analyzing data. In fact, I was some years later, I was invited to teach at the Colorado School of Mines,
Mhm.
and I taught there for 12 years, and I taught some lab courses on how to use computer technology to make engineering measurements and control things and measure stuff. And that has been a centerpiece of my career.
Now you are going through these different events in your life. You have gotten out of school, you have worked on a couple different companies, stand on the cutting edge of technology, and you're just building up those skills. How did that process start for you to think about entrepreneurship? Because you're in the system, but entrepreneurship is a little outside of it. What started that bug of something that you may get out there and do?
Well, I think early on, I realized that the corporate world, as we had known it before, like my dad worked for the same company for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not out there for a lot of people anymore, I don't believe. And so I ended up going to having been at a number of different companies, and uh, I merged into being a contractor where you just put yourself out there and you worked for on a project and you got paid more and your certainty of employment was less, but that's how it really was for everybody. They just didn't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I had about 10 years of corporate employment, and then I decided to become an independent contractor. And then that was that realization was the big step for me.
Yeah. Now, with that, is it where you said, okay, I got a larger check. Okay, I have a little bit more freedom. What is it that made you burn the ship and go all in on yourself instead of being inside of the corporate engine?
Well, one day I was my company had laid us all off. This was a Seagate. I was working a little back, had gone back into the disk drive business,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "Well, we're going to close this division down," and so you're all let go. And it was very sudden. And I realized that my boss had known that because he walked by me in a hotel in California the week before, and he just didn't even respond to me. So I think he told me later that was the day he not only he was going to have to lay us all off, but he was losing his job too.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I said, I'm just not going to look for a regular job again. I'm going to look for only contract positions. And that was the thing that was one of the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting a contract job for working on a NASA project. We built some stuff for the space shuttle system. We built a van that you could drive with a joystick under a government grant. And I thought, well, this is really fun working for it was a contract job. And then I got a contract when that contract was up. I got another contract job working on the Disneyland ride, the Indiana Jones ride, and I got hired in secret. They couldn't tell me that was what the job was, but just I really love it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pure mechanical engineering job, and I that was my first really big taste of contracting. I had the other previous job had been a contract job. I just didn't really recognize it.
Yeah.
And so the day that I left the that first firm, I had already signed up to get the other job, and I knew if I quit, that they would give me they would just boot me out of there immediately. That's how they treat everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
I waited to the last minute, but then they got to me before I was able to tell them. They laid me off and gave me a big severance package.
Okay.
So then I went to the next job with my pump primed, because
Yeah.
it always takes a delay to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that really rocked my boat too. I thought, well, heck, this is good. And I did that job. And then that was when that one was over, that was lasted a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was uh, searching around and I ended up getting a call about another contract job with Hewlett Packard,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty far away from where I live. But I went up there, and I said, "Well, I got to have this." They like me a lot
Mm-hmm.
because I had been working on this Disney project, and I was really good at doing calculations and waving my hands and explaining things. And they loved that, and they wanted me to go to work the next day.
Mm.
So I negotiated for a higher price than they were willing to pay.
Okay.
And then after 2 weeks there, they said, "You got to start your own company because you're going to travel internationally for us to help us negotiate with some manufacturers in Asia."
Okay.
So that was a big step for me.
Yes, yes. So you are got your big break. That's awesome that you got that severance package. That kind of boosted you into your next situation, which then catapulted you into an international business. Now, tell me all about your business. Now that you're in business, what is it that you're looking to do, and how are you helping these people out here?
Well, I was been doing when I worked with Hewlett Packard, I was doing compliance testing, pretty boring stuff. You're putting products through the rigors of the bad environments that people we were designing things. If you drop them, what happens? If you ran them in cold weather, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
I did all that, and then they moved me into the design. Um, so then I wanted to be more into the testing business, and I got very interested, and I made some friends in the laser testing business,
Okay.
and they sent me uh, projects for themselves, and then they sent me projects their customers wanted. So I got this great break to go out to the David Sarnoff RCA labs there in Princeton, New Jersey, where Einstein was, and that was like a very famous place. And I got to know some people, and I'd had some exposure to the laser business in the first job in the optical recording back at Storage Tech. Go back to my first rival after the first couple of years, I went into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had that continuum of the optics and lasers and stuff. And also, I did a lot of automated testing throughout whenever I could using computers.
Mm-hmm.
So I got involved with a company called National Instruments down in Austin, and they used a program called LabVIEW, and it was a visual program. So you basically, like a mechanical engineer, you draw a design, and with LabVIEW you would draw the program. I mean, it
Okay.
was icon based. You'd hook up the wires. It was very intuitive for me, and I started. That really was a big step for me. And that set me free, and that was about 1993.
Okay.
So I got out of college in '78. So uh, so many years later, I was had evolved, and there was always some mechanical design involved in testing the lasers or whatever. I tested a million different kinds of things. I'm looking at my list. I sent you a copy of my list. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know
Yeah.
if just earlier
Oh
this
yeah,
morning.
it was an extensive list. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to get into it, because you have been doing the mechanical engineering things for so long. I wanted you to make sure to share with the audience what some of those things were, because I know you do a lot of testing, you do a lot of inspecting, and I know you've been going for many years. 1993, that's a while now. As we talk about our clients currently, I know it is one of those things where you're doing a lot of mentorship, but if you were to pick up another contract, what type of contract would you be looking to get?
Well, right now, I'm 73 years old, and I'm have moved into a different realm of work,
Okay.
and I made a full circle. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I had this glorious technology career
Mm-hmm.
of designing, and then about 25 years ago, I picked up. I was working at a medical device company, and I was a consultant for working on catheters for medical devices for looking into the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very stressful career. We had a startup company, and I was a contractor there. I was well compensated. I liked it. But I said I got to be outside some of the time, so I picked up a license to be. I was a licensed engineer, so I picked up a license to become a inspector for the city
Mm-hmm.
and for doing buildings, and then I morphed that into becoming a home inspector, and then later I'm now practicing engineering. I'm doing light structural engineering. So that was always my twilight career plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this great thing going with technology, teaching at engineering, and then I was moving into building science because I was interested in energy auditing and that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of an evolution. I think we all change over the course of our lives, and I still love doing technology stuff. And as a matter of fact, now I am working at the Fix-It clinics here in Boulder, Colorado. We have maker spaces where we have computers to build things, cut things, do things, test equipment, and we invite the public in to bring their broken stuff in. A couple, once, every couple of months, we have a workshop. People bring their stuff in and we teach people how to do things themselves
Mm-hmm.
because that's really what I want to do with my life is to spread my knowledge and abilities. So we're fixing everything from clocks to computers.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you're fixing those things, but you built something yourself too. You said that there's
Right.
products.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit
Right.
about those.
I worked for years with a company designing optical product lenses and so on as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Infinity Photo Optical here, and they're actually moved to Denver in the last few years. But I they would give me projects as a consultant to build motorized devices. So I created a motorized product to focus and zoom microscope lenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a product, and I ended up selling that to uh, Edmund Optics in New Jersey. Marketed that for me, and I sold quite a few of them. And I thought that that was really fun because once you design it once and it works, it's really important to. Well, what I find is most people can design something once it works. This was mechanical and computer design.
Mm-hmm.
It was a box with a control panel, and you could also run it from a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a motorized mechanism that would attach to the lens and allow it to zoom and or focus or whatever you needed to have it do
Mm-hmm.
under computer control or manual control. So getting a product that passed the compliance regulations. I had some experience doing that already with for the European marketplace as well as the U.S. marketplace, and that was an exciting thing for me. And so, having a product, I think, is another great frontier. I had the independent consulting frontier, in and I changed. I have several different fields I've worked in, and then I also had this product. So I had revenue streams coming in from all different directions, which was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way that you want it. You want it to come from multiple sources because if one of them gets a little bit drier, you still got something coming from somewhere else. So that's a excellent.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
an
good observation.
excellent strategy. I definitely appreciate you sharing that. So, you've done so many things. You've been going since 1993, and like you said, you're on the other side of the plan that you've set for yourself that involves mentoring. And when you talk about the mentoring, I'm confident that over this time since 1978 when you were getting going, you have built up a bunch of business skills. You have a wealth of best practices. Do you mind sharing with the audience some of those best practices that have helped you to be successful over the years?
Well, I have a set of 15 rules I wrote up for myself years ago.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you don't want to start a project that's not funded.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then you don't want to work with people you don't like to be around. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's a very important thing. And you always have to have some kind of contract for any project of significance, and a clear specification on what you want to do and what the budget is.
Mm-hmm.
And if they tell you that you're too expensive, that means that they're too cheap to really have somebody like yourself there. So, and then one of the big problems with all projects is only realistic schedules can be accomplished. And there's a lot of people that want to create miracles overnight, and it's not possible. I had that happen to me one time when I was a corporate employee.
Mm-hmm.
So a customer can control two of three things: the cost, the schedule, or the quality. So, or they could just run in default mode, cheap, shitty, and fast.
Gotcha. Facts.
And you always want to be in a good work environment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the project can be no better than the plan. My friend Bob gave me that advice. So if you don't have a good plan for your project, it's never going to happen. Uh, Customers are required to pay 125% restocking fee for all returned items.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then all business relationships, including non-compete clauses and business as a subcontractor should be clear to all parties. So I've signed 1 million NDAs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had anybody said, "Oh, you told somebody this." So as a consultant, we were like the honeybees of technology and business practices.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever we went, we took whatever we learned from other places with us.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I didn't really say it that way. Um, and then number 13, always check all elements of your work to make sure that they're well tested and they'll survive. So you always have somebody else test your stuff other
Mm-hmm.
than you because you know exactly what buttons to push to make it work.
That's right.
And uh, and then you also want to make sure everybody on your team is dedicated. There's sometimes you're called in to be a consultant to create a product or a process, and there's somebody that really doesn't want it to work because they think they have a better idea. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to identify that. And and then that was number 14. Number 15, all lessons are meant to be repeated until learned.
Okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense because if you don't learn that lesson, you'll keep doing the same thing, run into the same problem. You being I know you're an engineer, but to me, you're a scientist, and because you're testing a lot of things, and you know if you're getting the same error every single time, something's not right. But then once you finally get it, you want to make sure that it works. Now, Mark, you have done a magnificent job of illustrating those best practices. I have done a ton of these podcasts, and I haven't had anyone who has been so specific on them. You actually gave the audience a list in which they can go by, and I truly do appreciate that because we're always looking to grab and acquire knowledge, and you have been a wealth of it, and I definitely appreciate that. Okay, Mark? Now, we've talked a lot about business. We've talked a lot about your journey, but I do want to take some time and talk about Mark as the sun comes out and shines on you, Mark. I like that. Now, I see that guitar back there.
Yeah.
I know that you're an outdoorsman, musician. My question to you is if time and money is not an issue, work is coming along good, what is it that Mark would do with his time?
Well, I've been traveling. I've been in the last, over the course of my life, I've been fortunate to be able to take time to travel. That was one of the good things about being a consultant is that when you're working and the project's over and your bank account's full, you can not worry about the next job and you keep a little reserve. And so I've gotten to travel to on business. I got to travel to Japan, and which was a number of times. That was great. And then I also personally I got to travel to New Zealand, Vietnam, Laos. I've been to Central America, all over Mexico, uh, and down to Belize and Honduras, and looked at the Mayan culture and really enjoyed those experiences. And then in the last 10 years, I've been to Europe 3 times. I've been to Greece, um, Crete, the island of Greece, off of Greece, and then Spain and Portugal. And I did a bicycle trip in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed that. I think that doing a bicycle, I'm an avid bicyclist, and doing a bicycle trip to another country or a hike to another country is really a good way to get to know it rather than just being on trains and counting the cities that you've been to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of
So
sense.
that's the stuff I love to do when I have the time, and I've got some trips coming up. We're planning for a trip in January this year. My wife and I are to the Galapagos if we're lucky.
Okay, nice, nice. Now, I do want to talk about your sportsmanship, sportsman. So, is it where you do fishing? Are you hunting? What are you doing when you're
Well,
outside
I
like
grew
that?
up in the hunting culture down in Texas, and I have been down there to go bird hunting with my cousins and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, I did got a professional fly fishing lesson down the Arkansas River with a friend, and I enjoyed that. I had a lot of time fishing when I grew up in Texas, so I had decided I want to do some other things too. But I don't mind stepping back and doing things I've done before. But currently, I love bicycling,
Okay.
and I'm with a group of senior bicyclists, and we ride a couple days a week. And then I usually ride. I have another ride in the mountain. Like this weekend, I'll be riding up in the mountains. We'll
Okay.
take take a bus up to the high country and ride around. And then before that, maybe 10 years ago, I was I'd get up in the morning and I'd play racquetball at 6 o'clock with a couple of my friends that were, still working at regular day jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and because they couldn't play during the day. Then I'd run up to the local ski area and ski for 3 or 4 hours, Then I come back down and meet with some other friends and go bicycling for the rest of the day and into the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, if I could do two of those at this time of my life in any one day, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So I try to take off a couple days a week for outdoor recreation.
Mm-hmm.
And then so one of my favorite thing in life was playing racquetball, and uh, then I was playing some pickleball. But I think I've moved on from that in terms of, maintaining my health and joints of my knees and that sort of thing.
Yes, yes.
I hate
I
to admit to it, but I met an old guy one time. He was been a famous ski racer,
mm-hmm.
and he was about 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to the end of his, of the great flight of life. He was about to have a crash landing
Mm-hmm.
or a gentle landing,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking to me like about his ski adventures, like as if he was still the great ski adventurer. And in our minds, we still are. We're all the great things we've done. So I love playing those racket sports for
Mm-hmm.
many, many years.
Nice, nice. Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing it. You can tell how exciting it is to you based off of the passion that you talk about it inside of your story there. And I appreciate you sharing that. And in this next section, I want to ask you if the people that are watching today have questions about Mark's journey, about how he's helping with the testing, inspections, your product, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you, Mark?
Well, always, I have a cell phone number that I share, MS, and an email, and a couple little websites. My cell number is 303-875-1041. And my email is, I have MSE at msesystems.com, and also Mark at mseinspect.com. So you can find me on those places.
Awesome, awesome. Audience, please reach out to Mark. As you can tell, he has a wealth of knowledge. He's had so many different experiences, both here domestically and internationally, and he's a creative. So reach out to him and see if you can get some knowledge from him. Now, Mark, again, we truly do appreciate you coming on the show today, sharing those stories, invigorating the audience to let them know that it is okay to jump off of the curb and go get those contracts and have a independent life. And we want to honor you by giving you the last word. So, Mark, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Well, for me, every day is the beginning of a new adventure. So you never, even as you get on in life, you never know what new opportunities are coming. But at this time in my life, I really enjoy giving to others, and I think if you adapt the opportunity, if you take on the opportunity to help other people, you'll find you'll be led to new opportunities that you never anticipated.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Mark.
Thank you.
And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks. Awesome. Hold on one second. Okay, Mark?